up anyway, so let's do it. All right, everybody stand up, rise to your feet. And who knows the drill? Get that blood going. By the way, this is good for your immune system. Turn to your neighbor and say, born a champion! Born a champion! Born a champion! Thank you, thank you. Tomorrow I need a little more volume, please. A little bit more volume. Good, good, good. All right, perfect. Welcome, everyone. Are you ready to have some fun tonight? Okay. I have one goal, and that's to enable you to leave with a little more peace than fear. And we are all here because we want to get healthier. How many of you guys want to find your way to better health? How many of you guys want to find your way to stronger immunity? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I know why you're here, and I want to deliver the goods. So roll out your wheelbarrow, because they're going to be full before you leave tonight. How many of you guys have been to a workshop here before? Raise your hand. Good. Keep your hands up if you've been to 5 or more workshops. 10 or more? 20 or more? 30 or more? 40, 50, 60? We have our 100 club, our 100 plus club right there, I think. Yeah, everybody give them a round of applause. Good, good, good. And how many of you guys, this is your first workshop? Herbert, go ahead and raise it. No, I'm just kidding. And no, okay, good, excellent. Give them a round of applause. Good, congratulations. Okay, so what you're going to find is when you come to the workshops here, you always learn something new. Been doing these workshops for 20 years. The titles may seem the same, but every time you come back, you're going to learn something new. Life is like a spiral staircase, you know. The older you get, the more times around the planet you go, around the sun you go, you look at things differently. You always things always have a different meaning, even if you're looking at the same thing, right? It's kind of like that with the workshops. And many of you guys were giving me feedback lately, and some of the feedback I've been reminded of from years ago. Some of you have been coming to workshops for 10, 15, 20 years like Deborah, and it's always the same conversation. Like, we'll never not learn something when we come to a workshop. How many of you guys like the idea of constant and never-ending improvement, right? You want to get better. You never want to slide back. You never want to get worse. You always want to get smarter and wiser with age, right? That's a blessing. So make sure you get one of these workshop cards. And if you haven't gotten one, I always give them out to all my new patients, but if somehow you don't have it or you lost it, grab one on the way out. Get the whole schedule, the whole year out for 2020. I take these seriously. This goes into my annual planning. The first thing I put in my planning is my workshops. After that, I do my seminars. After that, I dial in family vacations. This is priority right here for me, so I'm hoping it is for you guys as well. Next month, we have cancer prevention. Is cancer prevention important? Yeah. Yes. So this is one of our hallmark workshops. It is absolutely life-changing. Cancer affects every single one of us. In some way, shape, or form, our families, our friends, we've all been connected or touched in some way or another. Make sure you're on the proactive side of this and be here. Dial it in your calendar for next month. You should have a flyer there. And getting into tonight's workshop, we're talking about how to create more energy. You guys want to create more energy, make your immune system strong. That's what you just said, right? Yes. Where does that all start with? From the outside in or the inside out? From the inside out. So where all of your health is expressed from is deep within the cell. Where all of your energy is generated from, it's deep within the cell. And so when we look at these things like your DNA, and that's in the nucleus, and when we look at the mitochondria, which makes your energy, ATP, these are things that we have to make sure that there's nothing obstructing or inhibiting them from doing what God created them to do. Weren't you fearfully and wonderfully created? Say amen. Amen. You cannot improve upon perfection. That means that every single cell in your body has instructions. It knows what to do. You cannot improve upon it. All you can do is make sure that you remove interference to it so that it can express itself the way God created you to be. How many of you guys want to be 100% of what God created you to be? Say aye. Aye. So this is where it comes down to. To get well, you must fix the what? Cell. To get well, you must fix the cell. Everything comes from the cell. So you got to treat the cells right. You got to put those cells in the right environments. You've got to make sure that you're doing that. Are there flies on the ceiling, or is it the fan? We can shut the fan off if you want. You want to shut the fan off? Okay. So I'm just messing with you guys. If I start looking up, everybody's going to look up. So to get well, you got to fix the cell. And the environment that you're going to subject your cells to is going to make you or break it. And we don't often think about that. We just find ourselves in a ditch, or we find our health in a compromised situation, and then we don't think about fixing it from the inside. We think about what? Fixing it on the outside with a pill, potion, or lotion. Give me that 5-hour energy drink. Give me that triple espresso. Give me that Monster energy drink. Or, who knows, hormones, whatever the case is. But meanwhile, it's an inside job, and we're missing it. Most people do. So first I want to talk about where the genes come into play with this, because for better or worse, it's really going to determine your health tendencies. It's going to determine what you're susceptible to, whether it's Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, and then it's also going to tell you whether or not you are going to struggle with your health, or you're going to have vibrant health. How many of you guys want vibrant health? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, just because you have parents or grandparents that have cancer that runs in the family, maybe diabetes runs in your family, maybe you have the genes for breast cancer, right? Does that necessarily mean that that's a diagnosis for you? No, it's a tendency, but the same genes that carry diabetes or Alzheimer's or high blood pressure are under your control to either turn them on or turn them off. And that's what the genetic expression comes down to. You have a specific code, and if you can crack that code, then the DNA is not your destiny. Your DNA is more coming down to how you express it and the disease genes that you shut off or you turn on. So stay with me here. We all have a genetic risk, as I just said: celiac disease, lactose, gluten intolerance. That's a big problem for most of us, right? Caused by leaky gut syndrome, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. Are we hitting on anything personal here, close to home? Fibromyalgia, joint pain. There's too many people I don't know who don't have fibromyalgia. So many people do. Depression, anxiety. So we all have these tendencies for these things. But tonight I want to talk to you about how to overcome them, how to shut that off. So your genome is your genetic instructions. Your genome is all the genes that were given to you from your parents. So you got 23 genes from each parent. You've got 46 total chromosomes. You remember this from school, from when you were a little boy or a little girl? And those 46 chromosomes, that's called your genome. Then this is all the hereditary material which gives your body the building blocks it needs to make everything work, everything function, everything maintain itself in balance. So it's the library of instructions that's inside of your DNA, inside the nucleus. So your body knows how to respond under all conditions. So I found an interesting clip, and for most of the next 3 minutes that you're going to watch, it's very informational. And I'm not abdicating my responsibility for instructing here, but it is kind of refreshing for you to hear another physician dialogue about biology and genetics and epigenetics. I found it really interesting. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to clip this and I want to play it. Now he does go off on a tangent talking about dogs and cats and stuff, so just realize that that'll be over in 5 seconds, and then he'll get back to the main point, which we're going to trail off and build on after that. So pay careful attention, because this is an important clip, and it's going to give you some interesting foundational information that is important for us to build on the rest of the workshop tonight, okay? So I want to get this to work the first time if we can. This always happens, doesn't it?
Genetics are the blueprint of the entire body. In each cell, by the time it differentiates during its embryonic transformation, it either becomes a liver cell or a skin cell or a brain cell or something like that. So once it differentiates, that's all it will do. What the cell does, what it expresses genetically, depends on the environment. If I take a stem cell and I stick it into a heart, it's going to become a heart. If I stick it into the liver, it'll become a liver. If I stick it into the brain, it'll become brain. So remember, what is determining it? Is it the nucleus, the DNA? No. The nucleus is the response. It's the library of potential responses. What determines what a cell does is its environment. It's epigenetics. And epi just means around. Epidermis is around, above, skin. Dermis is skin. Epi, that's all it means. Now, the job of the membranes, the way that we get information is through our senses. And senses are appendages of the skin. And so the interpretation of our environment, our ability to interact with our environment is determined by our senses. The 6 obvious senses, skin and sound and smell, taste, all that. But keep in mind too, it'll be more irrelevant in a few minutes. There are 3 layers in an embryo. It's called the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. They become different parts of the body. Well, there are only 2 structures that emerge from the ectoderm, and that is our skin and our nervous system. Okay? So our brain, our nervous system is ectoderm, and our skin is ectoderm. That's it. So, interesting. So when you think of the senses, like the eyes and all that, these are ectodermal skin structures, but they are directly connected to the brain, right? Because the eye, the light comes in, goes back to this part of the brain, and we have vision. Okay, so but it's still skin. Anyway, in effect, what we can say is that our skin is interpreting the environment. It's interpreting what? Electromagnetic frequencies, sound frequencies. You realize, like, for example, cats and dogs are seeing a wider part of the electromagnetic spectrum than we are. Okay, is it not there? No, we just don't see it, right? And so I just want you to keep in mind that it's really the apparatus we have that interprets it. So, and the same is going on with the membranes of the cell. The cell has receptors, over 100,000 receptors.
This is important.
And the cell can only bring in information for which it has a receptor. If it has no estrogen receptors, it doesn't matter how much estrogen is in the environment, it can't respond to it, it can't produce what's necessary, so the estrogen becomes irrelevant. Okay, so it's those receptors that determine what the cell's going to do. In normal physiology, we have what's called upregulation and downregulation, and that is, in simple terms, that the cell responds to the environment that it's in by upregulating or downregulating a particular process. And it does that by turning genes on and off, expressing and unexpressing genes. So there's too much glucose because you're eating too much things that turn into glucose. It signals the nucleus to stop making so many insulin receptors, the cell becomes insulin resistant, what we call insulin resistant. This is great news because that means whatever condition you have now doesn't have to be tomorrow.
That's great news. That means if you have diabetes, you can turn it on or you can turn it off. If you have Alzheimer's, it's not as easy, but I think there's a lot that can be done to prevent that, okay? Because if you know that that runs in your family and that's at risk, there's a lot that you could do to turn on the blood pressure, shut it off, obesity, weight loss resistance, all of these things is what he's talking about. Because what did he say? Where is that information coming from? It's coming from the nucleus, right? And that nucleus is perceiving its environment. And then that DNA there in the nucleus inside your cell, it responds to its environment. It either turns it on or turns it off. In the case of diabetes, it's turning off those receptor sites for the insulin, right? Or it turns them on. And it's all based on the environment. Now, when he says environment, what comes to mind? What are you thinking about when he says environment? Like the outside there with the birds and the trees and stuff like that? What kind of environment are you talking about? Well, you're subjecting your body to, yeah. Now, he talked about the skin and he talked about the nervous system, what you think, smell, taste, touch, what you see. All of that is affecting your DNA. Yeah, your skin, yeah, toxins, that's affecting your DNA. That's going to affect whether or not your body's turning on these disease-promoting genes or turning them off. Wow, yeah. Is he talking about your lifestyle changes, like what you eat, whether you exercise or not? Will that flip the switch on and off? Absolutely, but there's a lot more to it, what they're finding now. Your attitude, your thoughts, your stress, all of that is affecting what the cells are doing and whether they're turning on the disease-promoting genes or turning them off. And so this is what it comes down to. You're either turning on disease-promoting genes or you're turning them off. You're turning on preventing those genes or turning them off. And so you've got lots of genes that are involved with the disease process here, and you're either going to be promoting them or fighting them, right? So there's lots of things going on. So based on, like, if you're fighting cancer, which 2 things out of 1 through 4 do you want going on? You want the cancer number 2 and 3, right? You want the cancer-promoting genes turned off, and you want the cancer-fighting genes turned what? On. So within everything that you do to subject yourself to this environment, either one or the other is going to happen. And it's going to pretty much determine the destiny physically of which way you're going to direct your health. So again, the whole point is that DNA is not your destiny. It's the genetic expression. And that's where the core 4 comes in. How many of you guys have heard of the core 4? What's the core 4? That's our delivery system at Elevation Health. Function, fitness, nutrition, and education. Function, fitness, nutrition, and education. So function is your spine, nutrition is what you eat, exercise, and then education is important as well. Because again, you're either going to walk in fear or you're going to walk in faith. The more you know, the more you understand, the more you can apply these things, the more peace that you're going to have. Ultimately, you know, we have peace of God if you're a believer and you know who gave you life, who sustains your life. But that God that we know and love so much, he also gave us a brain and a body for us to be good stewards with, right? Our body is not our own. It belongs to him. So we have a responsibility for this constant and never-ending education and improvement so we can be good stewards. And with good stewardship comes the fruit along with it of good health. Right or right?
Right.
So epigenetics. What did he say about epigenetics? What is epigenetics? Epi means what? Above. Above. Your genetics. So what has preeminence over your genetics are your choices, your environments, what you subject yourself to here or at home or at church, or the internal environment of your cells, the people that you're around, for positive or negative, all determines your genetic expression. Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about one of the core 4, exercise. Is exercise important?
Yes.
Is it important to do it more than once annually?
Yes.
Okay. Will exercise turn on cancer-fighting genes? Will it turn off cancer-promoting genes? Will it turn on Alzheimer's preventing genes? Yeah, it'll. So we can go through every gene, every disease tendency that you have. Like if you had a genetic report, a DNA test in front of me right now, I would go through every disease of, every gene that would give you a tendency, a high probability for you to express that and have it carried out to running your family. And I can zero in on that and pinpoint and say, here's what you got to do to shut that sucker off. So just zero in on these things. Now, there are intricacies within just saying exercise. Should I do a brisk walk? Depends on your genetic tendency. It's better than nothing, but you know what? If you're one of those individuals that have weight loss resistance, you might be better with doing high intensity cardio for longer periods of time. You might have genes that make you do better with low intensity exercise. So everybody's genes are different, right?
Yes.
But I can tell you, in general, can we agree that exercise is healthy?
Yes.
More than once annually?
Yes.
Okay, so if oxygen is something that we can use to energize ourselves and help from an epigenetic standpoint to shut off disease-promoting genes and turn on disease-fighting genes, if it's ideal and there was a daily dosage that we could take, just like a supplement, right, or medication, if you're on medication, how often do you take those? Every day. Wow. Are you able to entertain the concept of exercising every day? Yeah. And you don't have to knock yourself out if you don't want to, but at least go for a brisk walk every single day. When people say, I'm exercising 3 times a week, I know where that came from. It came from your medical doctor, who probably doesn't have a whole lot of training or no squat about epigenetics. They don't focus on it, they don't study it, and they don't know the benefits of exercising every day. Do you put on your socks every day? Do you brush your teeth every day? You take your medication every day. You go for a brisk walk every day. Okay, so this is part of the recipe for a predictable outcome as far as health management and disease prevention. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
I am not trying to guilt you. I am giving you food for thought on what you can do better. Some of you guys are doing better. You come to the workshop and you do this and you do that and you do better. But you can only do so much. I hear it's like drinking from a fire hose, sitting out there. I don't know, because I'm the one holding the hose. Right? And they say it's like drinking from a fire hose. So every time you come back, you're like, yep, check that box. Yep, check that box. If you're not exercising every day, that's a simple box that you could check off. If you do nothing else, check the box. And guess what? You come back to me next week after you've been exercising every day, and I guarantee you, you're going to tell me that you have more energy, right? So we could go through lots of other examples, but I think we got the point, yes? Let's talk about nutrition. Again, how do we subject our cells and our environments to be conducive for healthy cells, healthy genetic expression? Oxygenation is certainly one of them, but the nutrition part, you gotta see yourselves as bathing these cells in either a polluted environment or a healthy environment. And I like to use these pictures because it kind of gives us an idea. The picture on the left, you see a green pool, and the picture on the right, you see a blue pool. Which pool would you rather dive into? Blue pool. It looks refreshing, it looks nice. Anybody want to dive into the green pool? Why not? It's algae, it's nasty. How'd that algae get in there? How'd that algae get in there? How does algae grow in a pool? Anybody know? From the what? The pH. Who said that? Who said that? Yeah, good job. So it's the pH. When the pH is off, then now you have an environment that's conducive for algae to grow. Algae, fungus. And so, you know, the algae just doesn't show up one day just because it needs a place to grow. The environment has to be hospitable for algae to grow in, all right? So first you have to have that condition, and then you have all the creatures and vermin that follow after, right? Guess what? Your health is kind of the same thing. First you have to get sick in order for viruses and bacteria to be able to set up shop and camp out and cause an infection, whether it's the flu, pneumonia, or AIDS, or anything else. And you, as well as I, have read these reports where the epidemiologists are saying that, you know, there are some things about the COVID-19 that are like the standard influenza, and there's some things that are not like it. But one thing is for sure, your immune system never changes. The principle of health in your body never changes. Health comes from the inside, and that means if your body is healthy, then it is not a conducive environment for influenza to come and take over, or COVID-19 to come and take over, or SARS, or the Spanish flu. That means when they come into contact, these viruses come into contact with healthy people, what happens? About 70 to 80% of the time, they carry the virus, healthy people, but what happens? Nothing. Can you spread it to other people? It sounds like yes, but will it infect that person who's carrying if the immune system is healthy? No. And so what happens? Nothing. Your body is doing the job that it's supposed to do. It's kind of like the blue pool over here. How does it stay blue? Well, somebody maintains it. Either the owner or a pool service will come in and they'll shock it, they'll put the treatment in, they'll keep the pH, and they'll keep it balanced. And they stay proactive. The minute they let that go, what happens? Goes green. Kind of like that with your health, isn't it? How many people out there that are watching the news and reading op-eds and reading all this junk news and listening to Fox and CNN and fear-mongering and spreading fear, how many of those people do you think understand what we're talking about right now? They don't. We're not saying don't take precaution. We're saying understand that God doesn't make junk. Okay? You have a very capable immune system. And especially if you're getting adjusted, your concern and fear should go down about 100 notches. Especially for all this time that you've been under chiropractic care. And that's all I want to say about that. But getting back to the nutrition, the things that we put in our body are either going to maintain the pH inside our body, or they're going to throw it off. The normal pH inside our body should be slightly alkaline, 7.365. When it becomes acidic, it kind of becomes like that green pool. Things break down, and the environment is not very good for healthy cells to operate. And the cells become deformed and become damaged. And then the good nutrition can't get in, and then the toxins can't get out. And now you've got all the DNA in there and the nucleus swimming around in a bunch of what? Junk. Guess what? Do you think the DNA responds to that? What does it do to respond to that environment? Woohoo! I'm going to start throwing some switches. I'm going to start upregulating, downregulating. And there come the symptoms, the sickness, and the disease as a result of the environment. If you are eating processed foods, processed meats, loaded with hormones, antibiotics, nitrates, you've got alcohol, you've got caffeine, highly acidic foods, artificial sweeteners, the blue stuff, the pink stuff, worse than sugar. You have Diet Coke, diet sodas, you have high fructose corn syrup. All these things, which is the staple of the American diet, the standard American diet, highly acidic, creates a wonderful environment inside our body for sickness and disease to develop. And then once you get the disease, what do you take to treat it? Drugs! That's why they call it the Food and Drug Administration, because they're all in on it. They make you sick, and then they get to profit off you for the rest of your life. We're born into a medicine chest from cradle to grave. I hate to tell you, but that's the way it looks. So if you look at maintaining a normal healthy pH, what does it take to do that? From a nutritional standpoint, eating a more alkaline diet, because cancer, sickness, and disease cannot survive in an alkaline environment. No different than fungus can survive in a well pH balanced pool. So what does an alkaline diet look like? Alkaline foods. Alkaline water. Have you ever seen the water with the pH on it? Most water is usually about 5, unless you get Dasani, something out of a Coca-Cola plant, closer to 5. But the good healthy waters are closer to 7 and beyond. And you want to hydrate constantly, because if you're dehydrated, you're going to become more acidic. So you always want to carry a bottle with you all day long. You always see me sipping out of this. I drink one of these in the morning when I work out, one between breakfast and lunch, and one between lunch and dinner. I never drink after 6 o'clock. I'll drink at least 3 of these. Feel free to start sipping. Yes, I'd love to hear that. So there's an old saying, 3 liters a day keeps the doctor away, and there's a good reason why. It's because that helps to keep your body alkaline. Lemons, limes, tomatoes. When you go out for dinner and they bring you water, slice up a lemon, put some lemon in there. Put the lemon on your foods. It helps to alkalize the food and the water. Sliced lemons, limes, tomatoes, avocados. We talked about all the alkaline foods, cucumbers, kale, spinach, avocados, peppers. These are wonderful foods, water-rich vegetables, highly alkaline, which it just so happens the majority of your diet, at least the foundation of it, should be this, and good oils, healthy and alkaline. I can't tell you how much I've learned from going through this process personally, and I still apply these things, and guess what? When I veer off from it and I do other things nutritionally, do I feel better or worse? Worse. Yeah. And it was confirmed by my DNA test, too. I did it for so many years with an elite professional coach who was my trainer for a marathon. He taught me to eat like this. And I was the only one in my group who ran for 5 hours, 26 miles, who wasn't injured. I didn't have any problems with my knees or my back, and I was in the office adjusting 300 people the next day. And if you want endurance in your health and just energy that's just boundless, just sustainable, like the Energizer Bunny, what kind of batteries does the Energizer Bunny run on? Alkaline batteries. It just keeps going and going. So that's the key, guys. That's the key. You want to keep going with that, alkaline foods. So just to look at live blood cell microscopy, if you're looking at this, the picture on the left shows you an acidic blood field, and the damage from the acid, you know this, from when you work in a dental office as a hygienist or a dentist, what causes cavities? Not the sugar, but sugar turns to acid. And the acid is what burns holes through the enamel in your teeth. Your teeth are, bone, it's like the hardest structure in the human body. So guess what it does to the cells? It deforms and destroys the integrity of the cells. So what happens is they all start clumping and sticking together. Try running that through your blood fields, carrying oxygen. Is that going to give you more or less energy? Yeah. So that's what happens with an acidic diet and lifestyle. Compare that to the picture on the right above there. You see those blood cells? What's the difference? What do you see there? How do those look? They look pure. They look healthy. They're well-rounded, well-defined. The cell membranes are healthy. And they're carrying all the nutrients and the oxygen without any problem. They're not fermented. They're not clumping and clogging and sticking together. And this is what happens inside. This is the environment inside that you're creating, that you're bathing your cells in, based on the lifestyle choices that you and I make, for better or worse. So when we start cleaning up our nutrition habits, we start cleaning up our internal biology, our internal environments. And what this in turn does, when it repairs and regenerates the cells, what does it do to the DNA? It allows it now to comprehend its environment and flip the right switches on and right switches off. Make sense? So the red arrows show you, with the, on the left, with the fermented acidic diet and lifestyle, you're turning disease genes on and you're turning disease fighting genes off, right? And on the right, with the alkaline diet and lifestyle, you're turning disease fighting genes on and turning disease promoting genes off. And that's not a good thing. So you're setting yourself up for health or disease, one way or the other. That's the recipe. And this is foundational for everybody in here. Now we can get very specific, but this is something general, a concept that if you get this, you can apply this to any meal, any place where you're shopping, anytime. So we're going to build on that. So getting down to a more fundamental cellular membrane, I guess we could say, like that blue part right there, that's the surface of the cell. Those little black dashes that go across the top, those are electrons. So that means that all those cells in your body have a negative charge on the outside and a positive charge on the inside. Why? If I'm negative, do you want to be around me or do you want to be away from me? So there's an advantage. When there's an electrical charge that's negative to these cells, they repel each other so they don't stick together, and they move through the bloodstream and the blood field carrying oxygen and nutrients, and that's what a healthy blood field should look like. That's a healthy environment, right? So that's important to know, and that's what it looks like at the surface of that cell. By the way, what is the surface of the cell made up of? What's the cell wall made up of? That membrane? Fat, very good. In particular, what kind of fat?
Healthy.
Healthy fat, good fat. I'm going to give you another clue. It starts with the letter C and it sounds like cholesterol. Very good! Good, very good. So cholesterol, yeah. Isn't that amazing? So when we're taking cholesterol-lowering drugs, what are we doing to the functionality of that cell? Wall. Killing it. We're not allowing the good nutrients to come in and allowing the toxins to get out, and we're interfering with the proper genetic expression. So that's what it looks like at the surface of the cell. I wanted to show you that. So now we take the opposite situation where we have the standard American diet, highly acidic, high in sugar, caffeine, meats, all of the destructive things, trans fats, bad fats, all causing inflammation at the surface of the cell, right? Inflammation at the surface of the cell does what to the cell membrane? Anything good? No, it damages it. Yeah, and when it damages it, you know what happens to the polarity? You know what happens to all those electrons? It was negative on the outside, positive on the inside. When you disrupt the integrity of the cell membrane, blow holes through it like that, guess what? All the positive charges escape from the inside out. And now the cell loses that normal electron polarity on the outside, and they can't repel each other anymore. So what happens? Now all the cells start what? Clumping and sticking together. Remember, the positive charge is attractive from one cell to the next. So when you've got these cells clumping and sticking together, fermenting like that, what did we say happens? Is it able to carry the oxygen? You have more energy or less? Able to carry the nutrients? More energy or less? What about your genetic expression at that point? Cells are all clogged up. That's like burning a fire inside your chimney if you have a fireplace and you don't open the flue. What's your house going to be filled up with? Smoke. Is that healthy? So you got all this stuff going on in the cell, and this is what destroys the proper genetic expression. This is what's causing the downregulation and the upregulation in the opposite direction that we want. So number one, it blocks nutrients from entering the cell into the cell and prevents acidic waste products from leaving. Mitochondria no longer able to build sufficient energy, turns on disease-promoting genes and turns off disease-fighting genes. So that's pretty much in summary. So what's one of the main culprits that we see? Sugar. Now, this is wonderful. Nutri-Grain, Best Taste Award, awarded by professional chefs of the American Culinary Institute. Best taste. We even see raspberries here, which are low sugar fruits. Kind of deceptive advertising, isn't it?
Yes.
My goodness. But you wouldn't think. I mean, it's very healthy looking. But if you look at the ingredients, what is it filled with? It's filled with high fructose corn syrup, which is what? Sugar. Corn syrup, which is what? High fructose corn syrup, which is what? Glycerin, which is what? Fructose, which is what? Sugar, which is what?
More and more sugar.
It's like if you haven't read the label by now, you'd probably put it back and say, this is not good for me. But how many people are reading the labels? Are you reading the labels yet? Hopefully, yes. Here's another thing, trans fats. These are toxic, just like sugar causes inflammation. The trans fats cause inflammation. What did the doctor say is on the surface of the cells? Receptors, right? Everything that God created naturally to go into the cell in your body, whether it's hormones, whether it's insulin, whether it's sugar, whether it's nutrients, vitamins, minerals, whatever it is, all things naturally created in nature by God to go into the body He created, the cells have receptors on the surface for it. It's like a lock and key fit. How many did you say there were? There were thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands. It's like 100,000 receptors, he said, for all these different things. We don't even think about it. We don't even know what they all are. But yet they're there when we need it because food by God was designed to go into the body by God, right? Now, when you take something that was made in a laboratory and you try to put it in the body that God created, what happens? Nothing good. That's why I say if you can't pronounce it, it probably is not a good idea for it to go in there. So if there's no receptor for it to go into the cell for something like maltodextrin or high fructose corn syrup or canola oil or some of these partially hydrogenated fats, margarine, if they can't get into the cell because there's no receptor, what does it do? I'll tell you what it does. I went to barbecue the other day. I didn't know I was going to tell the stories. It just came to me. So this is an amazing thing that I just did. You're gonna give me an award for it. I turned on the barbecue. I forgot that every time I'm done barbecuing, I scrape the grill and I leave it inside. And it's like a plastic type of polyplastic super. So I forgot when I turned on the grill and I lit it, I forgot to take it out. So I come back, I wait for the temperature to get up to 300-400 degrees, then I open it. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to take it out. And I grab it. And what happens? It melts on, my hand like melts on it, and it's scalding hot. And I can't get it off fast enough. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna get blistered. Thank goodness I was able to think quick and I got it off really fast before it burned me real bad. But the analogy is just like that stuff was sticking to my skin.
Yes.
What are these normal, made in a laboratory, trans fats, these artificial sugars, all these things, when they go onto the surface of the cell, what are they doing? They're sticking on it.
Yeah.
They camp out there and they drive inflammation. And they drive the upregulation and the downregulation of the disease-promoting genes and the disease-fighting genes, turning them on and off respectively, doing nothing good, causing us to develop these genetic tendencies which we already have, which we don't want, right? So that's why we got to read the labels on this also. Make sure, no partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, hydrogenated oils, any of these oils, make sure we get rid of those. Bad stuff. So anti-inflammatory, alkalizing, and energizing nutrition. Water, water-rich vegetables, greens, low-sugar fruits, omega fats, olive oil, fish oils, flaxseed oil. What is that doing? It's reestablishing the integrity of the cell wall so we can get back to normal with all the cellular functions. Food pyramid, we always talk about. Don't use the one that they taught you in elementary school. That's what's responsible for diabetes and cancer and fatigue and depression and all that stuff. Just get the right food pyramid. The one on the right is the foundation of your diet should be greens and healthy oils, because it's alkaline and it'll give you the foundation for building and maintaining health. Above and beyond that, you have your meats, your grass-fed, and then a little bit of dairy if you do okay with that, fish, nuts, vegetables. That's the proper way to build your house of health. Okay, so I've talked for a good 40 minutes now. It's hard for me to believe. Does it seem like 40 minutes? No? Okay. Thank you for being kind. I know the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. Michelle's got other thoughts on that. She's like, yeah, man, when's this guy going to be over? Good Lord. All right, come stand up. Take the load off. Turn to your friend to the right. Put your hands on her shoulders. I just read your mail, didn't I? And put your hands on the shoulders and do a massage. Do a massage. Good. All right, love your neighbor. Bible says love your neighbor, love your neighbor. Bible doesn't say give a karate chop, but you can do that. Go ahead, give a karate chop. Good, get that stress out. Wake that person up. Get the blood going. We're gonna need it. We've got another 20 minutes or so. All right, let's turn around and love your other neighbor. Good. Awesome. Good. You guys are doing great. Very nice. All right, karate chop. Get that stress out. Is everybody awake? Yeah. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Heads up. Pam, you want to help me through these? Want to help me throw it? Go ahead. Heads up. Woo! Hey! All right. Very nice. So that's why you got to stay awake. Never know when a t-shirt's coming at you, full force. Okay, so continuing on with nutrition. I promised you I was going to give you some supplements that would help you with your energy, but also with your immune system. And these are general supplements that cannot hurt you. They can only help you. But from a non-specific perspective, if this is something that you're looking for, that you don't know anything about, let me fill in some of the blanks for you. How many of you guys know how important vitamin B is? It's important for your nervous system, and it supports your adrenal function. Your adrenal glands really help create energy also from a glandular hormonal perspective. And if your adrenal glands are shot, your energy is going to be toast from the minute you open your eyes in the morning. So this helps to support healthy adrenal glands, and that's a big part of where your energy comes from, right? Supports cardiovascular health, mental health, mood. CoQ10. How many of you guys have heard of CoQ10? What do we usually take that for? Our heart. But CoQ10 is actually a necessary molecule, not just heart cells, but all cells. And it helps with cellular energy, and especially mitochondrial function. What did we say the mitochondria makes? Energy. That's the powerhouse of the cell, remember that? That's where CoQ10 comes in, and that's why it's so important. If you're on cholesterol medication and you're not taking CoQ10, you really need to be doing that. And also for nerve system health. Ultraplex Digest. What does digest refer to? Your what? Your gut. Why is the gut important? Because you have probiotics in your gut. You have good bacteria, which is not just responsible for digestion. Obviously, if that's messed up, you're not going to digest the food, you're not going to be able to absorb the nutrients, and you're going to be at a loss of energy and health right there from the get-go. But what about your feeling of well-being? Did you know that most of the serotonin that's made in your body, you know what serotonin is, right? It's that happy feeling that you get that's a neurotransmitter, serotonin, dopamine. You have to have a balance of all this. Guess where it starts? In the gut. Guess what most people have? Leaky gut syndrome. They have food intolerances. So if you're not working on taking care of your gut, you're missing a big part of your health picture. And then last but not least, studies have known this for a long time. Where is a big part of your immune system played? In the what? In the gut. So that's why this is important, making sure that you're supporting that, maintaining normal gastric flora for your immune system and for your energy. Make sense? So the adrenal glands we talked about earlier, and this is important for that, for your immune system as well, as right now is the most important time to be taking care of and supporting your immune system. That's the supplement suite for our Energizing Nutrition workshop. Those 4 supplements together are synergistic, which means when you take them together, they have an amplified effect to accomplish the purpose of creating more energy and supporting the systems that are fundamental to that. Are you with me so far? Okay, so you guys know that when we have a supplement suite, we present that at the workshop. That's the time that you're eligible for a discount. If you'd like to do that, you get 10% off. We've got limited supplies here. Most people are starting to buy online right now, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. I want to make sure that you understand how important vitamin D is. What's vitamin D good for? Bones. I know you went right into my trap. So that's how we've been educated, healthy, strong bones, right? To prevent rickets and scurvy. But what studies have shown is we really missed the boat on vitamin D when it comes to our immune system. 400 international units was the bare minimum that they said you needed for strong bones and teeth. The problem is that we missed out on all the benefits of the immune system. You need to be taking at least 5,000 international units every day. And so studies are showing here over a 3-year period of time, taking 2,000 international units of vitamin D reduced the incidence of colds and flus to nearly what? Zero. That's from an epidemiology medical journal. Raising the minimum year-round serum vitamin D would prevent 58,000 cases of breast cancer, 49,000 cases of colon cancer, and 75% of these deaths from these diseases. So how important is vitamin D to your overall health and your immune system? It's foundational. If you're not taking a vitamin D supplement, you really need to be looking at that. Ask your doctor for the blood test. If you can't get that, we can do it for you here. You need to make sure those vitamin D levels are in normal range, or you're at a very high risk for cancer and other immune function disorders. Probiotics. Why is that important? Again, getting back to the normal intestinal flora and building that and keeping that strong to protect your immune system. I talked about that in the video as far as, with this new virus going on, what do you want to do to maintain a healthy immune system? Make sure you're on these supplements to support that. And then this was really, I saw a huge difference when I saw this. Flying for me every other month, I've been doing that for years and years and years. And every time I'd fly, because of that dirty, disgusting, recirculating air, what would happen the following week? I'd wake up Monday, my energy would be like this, because my immune system is, working on fighting off all the junk. So after flying, going to a seminar, the whole next week, I knew that I'd be down for the count. I wouldn't be myself, because my immune system would take a beating. And that was typical, that was the expectation for years. Until we happened upon this. Deborah pointed me to it. She said, hey, this is something that we have available to us. You should try it, take it on the plane with you. And I did that. And that did not happen after I took that. I stayed good the whole following week. And I'm like, well, maybe it was a placebo. And then the next time I flew, I did it again. And what happened? No problem. And then I did it a third time. And what happened? No problem. So guess what? It worked for me. I'm sold. That was the only thing that's made a difference in probably the last 7-8 years, as long as I can remember. So this stuff works. That's why they call it immune boost. So this is a good time to be getting this stuff in your system. If you have any concern, any reservation, if you have a history of taking antibiotics or fighting cancer from chemotherapy, radiation, you're on a lot of medication, if you're nervous about the strength or the health of your immune system, get on this stuff. This is really, really important. And then last but not least, gentle daily detox. Is it important to get the toxins out of the cells? Yeah. Of course it is. How do you do that? With something called N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine and glutathione will help to build the reserves inside the cells to get the junk out. You need glutathione inside the cell to help the cell detox from the inside out. Are there other avenues of detox in the body? Yes. Phase 2 liver detox, lymphatic detox, all the other pathways of detox. However, these two are primary in terms of helping restore function to the cell so that your DNA can express itself properly and you can have more energy. That's why I always recommend the shakes. Not just because it has that, but it also has a multivitamin spectrum. It has all your antioxidants. It has all the amino acids, everything that you need to make sure that you have your one a day that covers all bases. Now, the only difference, people always ask me, what's the difference between the Metaclear and the Complete Clean? Actually, there's two differences. One is that the Ultraplex Complete Clean has 15 grams of carb. Now this is fructose sugar carbs, so it's not the kind of carbs that's going to put weight on you. But it's more of a complete meal. The Metaclear Thorn only has 5 grams. So if you're going to have that for breakfast, it's not really a meal replacement. You want to have some fruit with it or something like that. And then going back to the Complete Clean, it's got 3 times the amount of N-acetylcysteine and glutathione than the Thorn Metaclear. So other than the taste, if you have a preference, one or the other, it's good to cover all bases. But there's not a day that goes by that I don't take that just to start my day with. It's got 26 grams of protein. It's, like I said, for the most part, a meal replacement. It's got all your vitamins and everything in there. It's best to mix it with almond milk or coconut milk, and maybe have a little bit of almond butter or some kind of good fat with that. How many of you guys do the shakes every day or on some sort of regular basis? Good. I think it's the best way to start your day. It keeps your blood sugar level. It'll help you lose weight if you are having that instead of Pop-Tarts or croissants or toast or oatmeal and things like that. All right? So back to the ordering here. So let me go over this with you real quick if I can borrow this. Okay. So this is the online order form. Now, you can grab some stuff here if you need it, and you'll get the discount. If you go online, you're eligible to save a little bit more money. They have an auto ship feature on here, which will give you an extra 5% off. Also $5 off of your initial order. So what we did last time was we had everybody fill these out. Not that they're gonna hit your credit card. We don't need your credit card information. The purpose of filling it out and turning it in before you leave tonight is so that we can build the shopping cart for you. This is called Make It Simple, all right? We build the shopping cart, shoot you an email and say, here, it's ready to go. And it'll have everything that you check off here, whatever you order. And all you have to do is open the email, click on, go to checkout, and it'll be done for you. So if you have this and you have any supplements in here or resources that you want to order, fill it out. I will also ask you this. If you don't have anything that you want, fill it out. And the reason why is we want to establish communication with you through that email so that when you do need something, you don't have to freak out and run to the office. It'll be ready to be ordered for you, and you can order it how you like, when you like. So I'm going to ask everybody to please fill this out and turn it in before you leave, okay? That's why, put your email on there and your name. The email and the name are the 2 most important things. Indicate there if you want products. If you don't, turn it in anyway with your name and your email. It's very important that we create a record for you so that we can have that conveniently ready when you do need to order it. If for any reason we're not open and you run out of stuff, you can still get it online. And that's what people have been asking for, They want the ability to have it auto shipped. Sometimes you forget, sometimes it slips your mind. This will help bridge the gap for that. All right, so please make sure that you complete that, turn it in before you leave. Actually, Tamara and Deborah will come up before we finish, and we'll pick those up. All right? All right, so I got one more little clip, and I want you to watch here. And let's see if this works.
If you wish your ancestors gave you better DNA, you're not alone. Epigenetics expert Dr. Sarah Gottfried says we could all use an upgrade in that department.
I've tested a lot of people over the past 12 years in terms of genomics, and everyone has 2 to 5 not so great genes.
Including herself.
I happen to have a problem with genes related to weight gain. So I have one gene in particular called the fatso gene, FTO, and it just makes me programmed to be about 200 pounds no matter what I do.
But as you can see, Dr. Gottfried silenced it.
So one of the ways of turning the switch off for the FTO gene is to eat a low-carb diet, kind of the right amount of carbs, mostly from vegetables. The other thing that I do is I exercise for a minimum of 30 to 60 minutes a day. So high intensity interval training is really good for me in terms of silencing this gene and making sure that it's not raising my body mass index and making me fatter.
Some people are afraid to take these DNA tests because they don't want to know if they have a bad gene like the one for Alzheimer's. But many experts say it's better to know because there are ways to silence these genes. For instance, in his book, The End of Alzheimer's, researcher Dr. Dale Bredesen lists dozens of lifestyle changes that have proven effective in squelching the Alzheimer's gene for hundreds of patients.
If there are specific exposures, you want to get rid of those. If there are specific nutritional changes, you want to address those. If there are hormonal changes, you want to address those. If there are inflammatory changes, address those.
For example, eating a low-sugar diet, taking certain supplements like curcumin, and avoiding neurotoxic chemicals such as synthetic fragrances.
Alzheimer's disease is no longer a mystery. You don't have to say, we don't know why you get it, we don't know what to do about it. We do know why you get it, we do know what to do about it, and we know how to prevent it.
Did you hear that? It sounds like what we've been talking about tonight. So that lady said that she has the fatso gene, right? And that's good to know. And she said she knows what to do. She has to exercise 30 to 60 minutes a day. Now, if that seems harrowing to some of you, the good news is that those are her genes. My genes tell me that I don't benefit from exercising high intensity 30 to 60 minutes per day. And my genes also tell me that I don't eliminate all carbs. So is it important to know which genes you have, or do you just stab at everything and see what works and what doesn't and struggle your way through? It's good to kind of have a roadmap, isn't it? So that's what they're talking about. They said that's why it's good to know these things, so that you're not doing things like a general shotgun approach, but you're really hitting the bullseye. And that's what the DNA testing does. Now, as opposed to the 23andMe, which is a very minimal report compared to the hundreds of thousands of variants that the Well-Aligned test puts through, this is much more extensive with what we're talking about. And as such, we can make specific recommendations as far as what type of diet you should be on, nutritionally, supplements, what kind of exercise you should or you shouldn't do. And the key here is to eliminate the guesswork and eliminate the struggle. Doesn't that sound smart? Yeah. So how it works is, when I did this test, some of you guys have done it, if you're curious, it's very simple. We do it right here. You take a cotton swab the inside of your mouth, and we get the DNA from the saliva inside of your mouth. And then we take it and we send it off to a lab, and they run it through their technology there, basically, and it comes up with a report. It reads your DNA, it puts together a genome report, and then from there, it basically tells you what genetic tendencies you have, if it's a low risk, a moderate risk, or a high risk. Whether it's related to high blood pressure, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, dementia, whatever it is, it'll show you what your tendencies are. And then it gives you recommendations accordingly. So once we get that report back, when I did my report, it was probably about 25 pages. It was quite extensive. It wasn't just for diseases, it's for lifestyle, health, and wellness as well. So here's an example. This is for inflammation health. So you have inflammatory substances in your body called cytokines, but you also have genes that regulate that. And the genes have to be working right to shut those off. And if the genes are not shut off, what happens to inflammation? It just runs rampant, and it increases your risk of what? Obesity, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease. Wouldn't it be good to know if you have a high tendency for that gene? Those are the genes, IL-6, TNF, and there's the impact. If you got 2 out of 3, you've got a moderate risk going on for that. That's something that should be addressed. What do you take? Something like curcumin. How much of it do you take determines how much of a risk we see there. Interesting, isn't it? Yes. Your lipid metabolism. You're worried about your cholesterol? Where's your LDL, your HDLB? Well, look at your genes. You know, is there an associated risk for heart disease there if you're running a 300 cholesterol? Maybe not. If you look through all these lipid genes here, APOC3, APOE, etc., and then you look at the gene impact, if you've got zero risk, if you've got no gene impact at all, guess what? You don't have a problem with 300 cholesterol. There's no risk of that. Your body's metabolizing the lipids the way it should. But I would say different if you've got 2 out of 3, or you've got 3 out of 3 for gene impacts, you've got a concern there that really should be addressed. Are you with me? Here's another one, the SOD2 gene. And what this does, it encodes an enzyme inside of your body which is responsible for quenching free radicals. How many of you guys heard of free radicals? Where do free radicals come from? The inside of the cell. Inside your cell. If you got free radicals building up inside of your cells, is that good for the DNA? Is that good for your energy? No, but if the genes that are on that should be killing those things off, you're not going to have a problem. But if those genes are off, if they're down-regulated, and you're not killing off what should be there, as far as the antioxidant activity, you're in big trouble. So that's why glutathione is important. The N-acetylcysteine, like if you had a high marker range, do you see that right there? Those two. You've got to look to making sure that you've got proper antioxidant support. So that's why this is important. The NOS gene, that up there, is responsible for the nitric oxide. You remember the cardio? We talked about Heart Smart Nutrition workshop last night. The N-acetylcysteine is what dilates the arteries to prevent heart disease. And again, this is one of the genes that tells you if you've got that working or not. So that was pretty cool. CYP1A, this has to do with certain types of cancers. And then here's a specific recommendation. You should be paying attention to optimizing phase 2 detoxification. What did we talk about helps to support phase 2 detoxification? The what? Ultraplex Complete Clean, or the Metaclear. So if you've got a problem, at least you know what solution to apply. Here's another one. She was talking about the fatso gene. This is it right here. She said the FTO, right? The fatso gene. So here's where things, get specific. In a person like this, where you've got, a high probability of this issue, you're at increased risk for insulin resistance, especially when there's a high fat intake. Wow, I thought we're supposed to have lots of fats. Yeah, you could, but maybe not, depending on your genes, which genes you have, right? Modify the diet to include a moderate amount of carbohydrate, increase monounsaturated fats, and decrease saturated fats. You know what that is? They're talking about the Mediterranean nutritional diet and lifestyle. So if you have these genes, that's the recommendation for that. Then if you have a genetic tendency for this, the TCF7L2, this one is a little bit different. These people lose more weight on a low-fat, energetic diet than on a high-fat diet. Guess what? That's what I had. I used to eat tons of saturated fat from other stuff that I learned until I had my report done for me. And since then, I've stopped that, and I've gone to what my DNA report showed me. So I do better on a higher carbohydrate diet, lower fat diet. Do I still have fats? Yeah, I still have the olive oil. I'll still have some saturated fat with my coconut milk, but I don't kill it like I used to. I used to be like, yeah, I want to be a fat burner. Remember that? But that may be good for some of you in here, but not for everybody. And so again, the DNA testing really gets things specific, and it eliminates the struggle and the guesswork. Same thing. So the DNA testing kit is something that we have here. It can be done here. That's an investment that may make sense for some of you who've been wondering, maybe you've had a struggle, maybe you're taking supplements, maybe you'd like to see some better results. This eliminates the guesswork. This is a blueprint to your genes and what you can do to turn off the bad ones and turn on the good ones. It'll not only show you your genetic tendencies, but it'll enable us to give you very specific support in terms of supplements and nutritional recommendations as well as exercise. It really was life-changing for me and for some of you in the room as well. So that's discounted tonight also. If that's something that you need help with, ask Deborah. She can set up an appointment for you and give you further information. Finally, I want to talk to you about the genes in the nervous system. And this is the most important part, because you can eat good and exercise till the cows come home. But if your brain is not comprehending the body and the body's not comprehending the brain, Houston, we have a problem. Brain is the interface between the environment and the genes of our cells. Electrical signals travel from the central nervous system through the periphery out to the body. And there has to be constant communication in order for your body to interpret its environment. Remember what the doctor said when he first started? What is it? The epithelial. What is the epi mean? And yeah, he said, so the skin and what else? The nervous system. Everything, you're seeing me right now. You're smelling, you're tasting, you're touching. All of your senses are going through which nervous system? Your nervous system. It's the most important part of your body, but it's the part of the body, healthcare-wise, which gets the least attention. Think about it. Last time you went to your doctor, they check your blood pressure, your cholesterol, they check your blood sugar, they do a mammogram, a prostate exam. What's the one system that they never, ever, ever check for you? Your nervous system. And it's like the circuit breaker. It's Houston control. It's the master control system, and yet it's never addressed. So they're always looking at the effect. You have to look at the cause, right? Yeah.
What is the sciatic nerve?
The sciatic nerve is an extension of the nervous system that goes down your leg, and it branches off the lower back. So the brain sends the messages down the spinal cord, and then they branch off in between the bones. And they go to your arms, they go to your legs. Those same nerves go to your heart, your lungs, liver, spleen, your kidneys. And then those nerves keep going down, and they go down into your legs also. So that's the communication system, the information superhighway that connects the brain to coordinate all the function of your limbs, your skeletal system, your muscle system, and your organ system. There can't be any interference there. But here's the most important part. There can be. And you may not know it. So Roger Sperry, this doctor, he won a Nobel Prize. He's a neurobiologist. When he discovered how posture affects energy in the body. He said 90% of the energy output in the brain is used in relating the physical body in its gravitational field, which is posture. So the more mechanically distorted a person is, the less energy is available for thinking, metabolism, and healing. Think about it. You've got a person like this, all right? What's happening with the muscles? Are they working in a balanced or an imbalanced fashion? Imbalanced. Is there less or more energy that's needed to maintain that person vertical or erect relative to gravity? Or a person may look like this. Do the muscles have to work easier or harder? Harder. More energy is spent on posture, less energy for thinking, metabolism, and health. So does your spine, it either strengthens or it weakens your overall health. You guys know the answer to that. It all depends if your posture is better or worse. When you see people with bad posture, if you're not under chiropractic care, when you see people with bad posture, you may notice it, but you just think it's a cosmetic deformity. Guess what? Those people with bad posture go from a cosmetic deformity to dragging an oxygen tank in a very short period of time. And studies show that length of physically, life, number of years lived on planet Earth is directly proportional to how strong a person's posture is. And that's why it's important that you understand that when bones shift out of alignment in your spine, that's the beginning of your spine breaking down and the beginning of the disconnection and the weakening of your nervous system and your health. This 1997 Seattle Fibromyalgia International Conference, the doctor said, head and neck posture is a major factor in fatigue and what? Immune function in the patient suffering from fibromyalgia. How many of you guys know people with fibromyalgia? Their body aches all the time. Not only are they fatigued, but their immune systems are shutting down. And these are people with allergies, asthma, breathing problems, chronic infections, colds, flus. So if you've lost the curve in your neck, that's the beginning of that problem. And lots of people are cold, they have colds and they're sick all the time, and it's because they don't have a curve in their neck. When you take the curve out of the neck, you suck the brainstem down into the bony canal. And that brainstem right there runs very closely to the vagus nerve, which controls what? Your immune system. Yep. One chiropractic adjustment causes release of interleukin for 2 hours after the adjustment. Canadian Memorial University found this. What is interleukin? Some of you work in a hospital. You've heard of that before. Chiron Pharmaceutical Company makes a synthetic form of interleukin. It's what they give to people with AIDS and cancer. Synthetically, they inject people to boost their immune system in the hospital at the cost of $5,000, $10,000 per treatment. Guess what? Your body makes $10,000 worth of that every time you let a fever go over 104 degrees. That same process ensues after my hands leave your back. Got that? Yeah. So what is an adjustment worth? You go to the hospital and they're going to charge you $5,000 or $10,000 for that immune boosting synthetic drug. And we're doing the same thing here with the chiropractic adjustment, right? Remember, it's not my adjustment that cures you and heals you. It's removing the interference to allowing what your body does by itself. Yeah. But isn't that amazing? Yeah. So with every adjustment that you get, what is it doing to your immune system? It's boosting it. Yeah. Chiropractic in the 1918 flu pandemic. This is in your handout. Basically, there were 20 million people worldwide who died. 500,000 people in the United States lost their lives. And, you know, it was bad. Up to this point, it was far worse than what we're dealing with the coronavirus. How did it spread so quickly? Well, it was during World War I. And when the soldiers caught it here and then they went overseas, they spread it overseas. Spain was a neutral country, and they were the only ones that were allowed to report on it, and that's how it became known as the Spanish flu. So if you didn't know that, that's where it started from. Davenport, Iowa was the fountainhead. That's where the first chiropractic school originated from. So there were records kept, and the historical records show that there was a difference between people under medical care for that Spanish flu and people under chiropractic care for that Spanish flu. The difference was the death rate for people under medical care was 9.5%. The death rate for people under chiropractic care was closer to 2%. If you didn't know that, again, it's in your handout. The chiropractic patients had a 98% better chance of surviving. That was back then with something that killed far more many people. So with your adjustments here, right now, what does that tell you about how that's helping you deal with the present situation? Why did this happen back then? Because it's something called the vagus nerve. Has the vagus nerve changed in your body, in the human body, in 102 years? Is the vagus nerve the same now? Does it do the same thing now that it did 102 years ago? Yes. Where does the vagus nerve run in front of? The top bone in the neck. When you move that top bone, what does it do to the vagus nerve? It stimulates it. And what it does is it causes a parasympathetic effect, which is a slowing effect on the systems in the body, which allows your body to divert energy to healing, metabolism, and boosting your immune system. You got that? Are you with me right now? So they know that. We've known that for many, many years. The vagus nerve function dramatically improves overall health and function of all organs. Some of the organs are all of the organs. You were here last month for the Heart Smart Nutrition Workshop. What did we talk about with the vagus nerve there? The what? The function of the heart. And that's why you will always be reinforced in understanding that people are under long-term chiropractic care, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years. They go to doctors less. They take less medication. They go to hospitals less. If they're admitted to the hospital, they get out faster. They're not in nursing homes. They don't succumb to the diseases like people who are not under chiropractic care do. All right? So when I say staying out of doctor's offices, off medication, out of hospitals, how long do you want to do that for? So when I say how long are you going to get adjusted for, how long do you want to do that for? Forever. Now there's a little bit of confusion as far as, well, I don't know, I told my husband, or I'd like to get my kids in, but I don't see them, do they really need to do all the rehab and this and that? Well, if you're talking about preventing a flu or preventing being infected or being affected by the coronavirus, do they need that stuff now? No. They need to get their atlas adjusted. They need a flu adjustment. That's what they need. They don't need rehab. Your family members, if they're not getting adjusted, if they're home and you're getting adjusted, whose immune system is stronger and who's weaker? Is it right for you to benefit from that and leave your loved ones home to not have that and chance that and roll the dice in this present time and situation? That's important. That's a burden that's weighing on me. Not everybody needs rehab, but does everybody need chiropractic care? You better believe it. Especially now more than ever. People should be getting regular adjustments. That's what history has taught us from anything. So, as I was doing more research today, I found something else on social distancing. They didn't just pull this out of their hat right now. Guess what they did back in 1918? Social distancing. Yeah, New York mayor first did this with the subway station, where when they had that 102 years ago, that's where people used to congregate the most every day, back and forth from work. So you know what he did? He split up the shifts. He caused certain businesses to be closed during times, and he did this. He mandated that all businesses be open and closed at certain times to minimize the traffic on the subways. That was the beginning of social distancing. Now, the outbreak first occurred in Philadelphia. So it happened, I think they said September 17th. But people were infected and moving around, and they didn't do anything until the 17th of October. So they waited 2 weeks before they started doing the social distancing thing. See that long spike up there? See that big spike? That's what happened in Philadelphia because of the delay to the social distancing. That spike that you're seeing there with Philadelphia, that's like what happened with China. They didn't know, they didn't do it. But then you see this, you see the blue line there? Can everybody see that? Yeah. That's St. Louis. Shortly after October 3rd, when they enacted the social distancing in Philadelphia, just a couple days later, the first case of the Spanish flu emerged in St. Louis. How long did they wait to do social distancing there? 2 days. Immediately they got on it. They started moving people away from each other, and they started taking precautions, and what happened? Well, instead of having a death rate of 250,000, the death rate was only 50,000. So, deaths per case, 50 per 100,000 people. So basically, 80% less people died just by getting on it, being proactive, and actually not quarantining, but just social distancing. Are they forcing social distancing on us right now? Yes. They were like in our church, they just went to one service. We used to have 3 services. Can't shake hands. No more Wednesday nights. They're doing it online. I would go if it was open. Why? Because I'm confident of how strong my immune system is, and I believe it's the host, not the virus. But nonetheless, I am subjected to social distancing, and everybody in here will. The one place that I hope we don't have to create social distancing is right here, because this is the very thing that's going to keep you healthy through this, right? So I'm not preaching social distancing. The distinction that I'm making is it's being forced on us. They're already taking action. Precautions are already being taken. And just like you see this blue line here with St. Louis, and this thing lasting in Philadelphia for only 4 weeks, 6 weeks, it was gone. Same thing is going to happen. 4 to 6 weeks from now, this whole picture is going to look very different. You know why? We've lost 69, maybe 70 people out of how many Americans right now? 350 million? Hello? What's the death rate on that? 0.0001? Let's put this in perspective, guys. Our authorities, they're doing their jobs. Hopefully we won't be on lockdown, but whatever the case may be, the last thing that you want to sacrifice is your chiropractic care. The last thing that you want to give up is your chiropractic adjustments. Because history tells us that gave a 98% advantage, upside to survival. And that's what I do for my family. That's what I do for you. You guys are my family. And I just want to make sure that we do this with clear-headedness. All right? Like, we know the Lord's got this. We trust in His faithfulness. We trust in Him. But we don't want to be swayed by all the fear-mongering that's going on right now. We've already gone through much worse. And like I show you, this Philadelphia thing, that spike is just like China. And what we're seeing here with the St. Louis, that's kind of us right now. And the other distinction is the months there, September, that's going into fall and winter. Guess what? We're coming out of that. We're coming out of that. That means the more heat, the more sunlight, the faster it's going to go away. All right? So this will all be very transient. And you know what? It may get a little worse as far as what comes down from the government, just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to come right out of it. So everything's going to be fine. But I'm telling you right now, be proactive. Your health is in your hands with what you do. Everything you learned tonight, eating good, exercising, and most importantly, the chiropractic care. HIV/AIDS research, I can tell you this firsthand because I knew this study when I was up at school, which they took a group of AIDS patients, and then there was a control group 2 groups with AIDS, and they adjusted one group, and the other group, they gave sham adjustments, not real adjustments. And they observed them over a period of time. And at the end, they got their CD white blood cells. And what they found was the people who were under chiropractic care, their CD4, their white blood cell count that they watched with the immune system, went up by 48%. I'm like, wow, my gosh, I hadn't even graduated yet. I'm like, this is awesome. Everybody needs chiropractic care, right? I knew that as a student. So when I came out, I donated my time to an AIDS shelter in Fort Lauderdale. And I showed them the study. I said, here, I want to do the same thing. I'm going to donate my time. All I want to see is the blood results. Show me the blood test. And when I went in, all I did was set up a chair, and what did I do? I adjusted what? Atlas, the top bone. Why? Which nerve? Starts with a V. Vagus nerve. Very good. Vagus nerve. That's the most important one. Affects all physiology throughout your body. That's all I did. And at the end of the time that I took care of them, 6 months there, what happened? What happened with all their blood levels? All of them came up. All their immune systems rose up. At a bare minimum, some of them, best case scenario, they got off their AIDS medication, got off their AZT. Many of these people got off their medication. And many of them stayed under chiropractic care a long time to see tremendous results with that. So I know this firsthand. So my question to you is, what is the smartest thing you can do to prevent the flu? Get your flu adjustment. Don't get a flu shot, ever. Get a flu adjustment. Where's the flu adjustment? Right there. Right there. My best patients, they come in and say, hey, I'm here for my flu adjustment. Or in this case, you say, I'm here for my corona adjustment. Okay? All right, last one, then we're going to wrap up. Hey, wait.
So Ricardo Markland, you're giving me an amazing praise report. How long have you been a patient here now?
Since July of 2008.
And what did you originally come in for?
I came in because I was having problems with my blood pressure.
And what were the results after care?
After care, the blood pressure has normalized.
Excellent. Were you on medication?
Yes, I was.
And are you on medication now?
No, I'm not.
Excellent, excellent. And what other benefits have you noticed since you've been under care?
I have not been sick and legitimately since 2008, since I started care in this office. Also, I have a few sniffles that are go quickly. I have not been sick.
I mean, before, is it something that was very common? Were you getting colds and sicknesses? Because as a teacher, you're around that a lot, especially with the kids.
Yes, and then in the winter months, it gets cooler. I would get sniffles, and I have not had that. As a matter of fact, I was in New York in the snow, and I left here almost warm. I came back, not a problem whatsoever.
That's great. That's a sign of a healthy immune system and a healthy future.
Yes.
Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there, obviously, you guys know there's a connection, but for the guests here tonight, it's important that you know, and also maybe you're thinking about some loved ones or friends. You know, every part of the spine has an area that affects a different function of the body. The 2 main areas that affect the immune system are the top part of the neck and also the middle part of the back, where it goes to the spleen, and that can lower your resistance as well. That was where the interleukin study was done from. So you have to have proper brain-body connection. If you have bones out of alignment, that's not happening. Sometimes you can tell by what you feel. If you got sciatica, if you got lower back pain, if your neck hurts, if you have headaches, vertigo, allergies, indigestion, there's whatever the symptoms are, there's usually a place in the spine that correlates with that. And if you're looking for help with that, then we go through the proper diagnostic channels. We do a consultation where we get a history, family history, sit down and discuss all that, and then we do an examination, evaluation, where we check your posture, check the range of motion, and we do a thermal scan. This is NASA Space Technology's thermography, which allows us to measure the spine, and any abnormalities will surface there. And if they do, we can connect it with any problems health-wise. And it's good from a preventative standpoint, but it's also good to diagnose why problems are there, where they're coming from. And if we suspect that there are problems in the spine, other than what you feel, we take x-rays. And the x-rays, if we can put that together with the scan and everything else, then we eliminate the guesswork and we give you real health answers, specific health answers, not broad strokes. And that's the value of the testing. Normally it's $350 for all the testing, but if you're a guest here tonight, we do that for only $47. That's a gift to you on behalf of the person who invited you in. we're happy to do that for you. The offer's only good for tonight, so we only have a limited number of these. You can't do these all day long. It's a lot of service and we put a lot of time into it, but if you think you're worth it and you believe you are, and we're willing to spend the time to do that for you, we'll be happy to sit down and do that. So, Deborah, can you raise your hand? For all the guests that are here, if you don't have a chiropractor and you haven't had your spine checked in a long time, and anything I said tonight made sense, please feel free to make an appointment with Deborah, and she'll show you what we can do to accommodate you with that health pass if you're looking for answers with your health. The offer expires after I leave, so it's good for tonight, and we're happy to help you with that. If you need supplements, like I said, we have limited supplies on the shelves. Please make sure you turn in your handouts so that we can make a record of your emails and create the cart for you. And also, let me just say one more thing real quick before I bomb and forget. Remember, it's not just about, for those of you who are guests here, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank the people who invited you for being here tonight. But I also want you to think about your family members and your friends too. There are people that you know, love, and care about that should have been here tonight. Yes? They should have. And they're in fear. They're hurting, they're hoping, they're wondering, and you've got an answer. You've got something life-changing you can help them with. Think about what you can do to get them here, get an appointment so I can check them out, and get them some adjustments. So that's the greatest blessing that you could do for them. Talk to Deborah about that. If we need to get them a health pass, we can do that as well. You want information on DNA testing, again, ask Deborah about that, and we can help you get everything that you need. Thank you so much for coming tonight, guys. I love and appreciate you. God bless.